Am I the bad guy after my stepmom kicked me out the day I had chemo? Advice needed. 32F diagnosed with breast cancer. I sold my condo a month before I was diagnosed and didn't want to go to my mom's house. My stepmom convinced me to move out of state with them because they had a big house and my dad could take me to chemo. The month that I arrive, my grandma is diagnosed with cancer, so my dad starts flying out of state to visit her. My dad is also not my biological father. He married my mom when I was 3, but has always been in my life. I have no memories without him, and after they divorced, he was always present for everything. So everything is going seemingly fine until the week my dad left to take my grandma to chemo. I brought my 12-year-old dog with me. He's 6 pounds and otherwise well-behaved. I have siblings in the house 10 and 14 who pile up the trash cans where the overflow, and my dog took toilet paper and ripped it 2 separate times. So instead of telling me, she calls my dad to tell him while he's taking care of my grandma, and he sends me a text the next day saying we need to talk, and that she doesn't feel comfortable talking to me. I was upset. I've known her since I was 12. I've known her for 20 years, and she doesn't feel comfortable talking to me? So I stayed in my room for 2 days with my dog and tried to stay out of her way. My dad flies back in time to take me to chemo. I was at the cancer center for 8 hours getting blood work, pre-medications, and chemo. I get back to the house starving for dinner and heated up some food to eat. She gets home a couple minutes later and storms to her room. I'm talking to my sister, and all I hear is yelling, and I know it's about me. I could hear her saying, "You were with her all day, you don't care about your family?" My dad tries to convince me to speak to her, and I say no. After an hour, he gets her to come out, and she's yelling and throwing things, saying that she's gonna take the kids and leave. That he only cares about me and no one else. That I'm just a stranger and I'm not even blood related. That I disrespected her by not talking to her for 2 days. That I'm always negative. I have cancer, and whenever she asks me how I'm doing, it's never positive. My dad just stood there and said nothing. When she was finished, he offered me a hotel. I grabbed my stuff and my dog and drove 2 hours to my aunt's hours after chemo. Next day, they both text me. I wanted to move forward for my dad and the kids. I apologized for disrespecting her. She said she meant everything. I moved out as it was toxic and continued my chemo with the help of my aunt and BF. We pretended to go back to normal. My last chemo was December 22nd and my double mastectomy was January 23rd. A month after surgery, my dad tells me she's disappointed in me because I didn't call her for Christmas or for her birthday, January 21st. I told him he was being unfair and unreasonable, that he was biased and would go along with whatever she said. I was sick from chemo on Christmas, in bed fighting for my life, and in January preparing for the biggest surgery of my life. I wasn't thinking about her. She was the last thing on my mind. He wanted me to apologize to her for not reaching out, and I said no. I want nothing to do with her, and I never want to see her again. Am I the bad guy?